The invasion that should have been easy. Approximate. 1,400 words. The stars glittered like fractured glass across the void, each one a silent witness to the inevitability of conquest. For the Zaltharon Dominion, war was not a question of if, it was ritual, ceremony, and pride. They had crushed 23 worlds in less than a century. Their fleets glided through hyperspace like serrated blades of obsidian. Their soldiers were bred in tanks, armored in plates of living carapace, and trained to obey without hesitation. And now their next target sat before them. Earth. General Kethvor, commander of the 9th Imperial Armada, stood at the prow of his flagship. His slit-pupiled eyes gleamed as Earth rotated slowly beneath him on the view screen. A blue orb wrapped in thin ribbons of cloud. Fragile. Innocent. A child's toy waiting to be broken. Pathetic, hissed Kethvor, his mandibles clicking. Their defenses are primitive. No energy shields. No orbital bastions. Barely interplanetary craft. The other Zaltharon commanders nodded in silent agreement, armored forms bowing toward him. They are soft, unblooded. They will be nothing more than a test for our soldiers to sharpen their claws. Yet beneath the bravado, there was an unease. Not because Earth looked threatening, no, the planet seemed laughably unprepared, but because the Council of Dominion Elders had spoken in whispers about the humans. A warning had been carved into stone archives millennia ago by another race, one long since exterminated. Do not underestimate the spawn of Terra. They are fragile in body, yes, but their spirit is a weapon even gods cannot bind. But warnings meant little to the Zaltharon. Conquest was conquest, and Earth was ripe for it. The first strike. The Armada descended with precision. Over 100 capital ships burned through the atmosphere, blotting out the sun. Cities below trembled as shadows consumed them. Sirens wailed across continents as humanity looked upward in horror at the armada of monsters that had come from the sky. Earth's militaries scrambled. Fighter jets launched, missiles streaked into the heavens, but against the living hulls of the Dominion warships, they were as gnats against a leviathan. The skies boiled. Skyscrapers burned. Oceans churned as kinetic warheads plunged like meteors. The invasion had begun. From the command deck, Kethvor's laughter echoed. This will be over by dawn. Resistance that shouldn't exist. But dawn came and Earth still stood. The Zaltharon expected surrender. Instead, they met a resistance that bordered on madness. Humans did not flee when cornered, they improvised. They fought with weapons centuries behind the Dominion's technology. And yet, they made it hurt. In the ruins of Chicago, a human squad ambushed an armored patrol, dragging them into tunnels the alien scanners could not penetrate. In the burning forests of Siberia, guerrillas hijacked a supply crawler and drove it straight into an enemy command post, detonating themselves along with it. In the deserts of Africa, soldiers with rifles scavenged Dominion plasma cores and rewired them into makeshift bombs that could level entire companies. The humans were not simply fighting, they were learning. And for every city the Dominion took, they lost thousands of soldiers. For every victory, a shadow of unease deepened. What drives them? Hissed one commander. Why do they not yield? General Kethvor crushed the skull of the questioning subordinate with his claw. Because they are vermin, and vermin cling to life even as you burn their nests. But in private, even Kethvor could not explain it. Humans were not fighting like prey. They were fighting like predators who had been preparing for this moment. The fracture in the narrative. On the third week of the invasion, an anomaly occurred. A Dominion fleet, stationed in orbit over the Pacific, received a distress call, not from Earth, but from the homeworld of the Dominion itself. The message was garbled, panicked, filled with static and shrieks. But one word cut through, repeated again and again. Humans. Kethvor froze when he heard it. Impossible. The humans were here, struggling, bleeding, dying in the streets of their own cities. How could they possibly be on Zaltharon Prime, the most fortified world in the galaxy? The signal ended abruptly. Silence fell on the command deck. Kethvor's mandibles twitched. A trick, he spat. They seek to divide our attention. Ignore it. But deep within the Dominion's territory, In palaces of obsidian and towers of flesh metal, the truth was unfolding. Meanwhile, on Zaltharon Prime, the capital was a city that sprawled across a continent, spires of bone fused with steel, rivers of molten light flowing between them, skies pierced by war balloons bristling with weapons. It was impregnable. It was eternal. It was the heart of the Dominion. And yet, in the shadow of the great spire of elders, something had taken root. A human voice crackled in the ear of a soldier dressed not in the sleek armor of the Dominion, but in patched black combat fatigues. "Bravo team, you're green. Move to Sector 9. Remember, silent, fast, unseen." The soldier's helmet visor flickered, adjusting to the alien cityscape. Around him, half a dozen figures in matte black armor flowed like shadows between alien patrols. Their movements were not frantic like the guerrillas on Earth. They were calculated, professional, deadly. They were not survivors. They were hunters. For these humans had been here long before the Dominion's armada ever reached Earth. The hidden truth. Decades earlier, when humanity first reached into the stars, they encountered whispers of the Dominion. They saw signs of the conquests, ruins left behind by races no one remembered, and they understood what was coming. Humanity had always been underestimated, by themselves, by their enemies, by the galaxy. That underestimation was their weapon. So before Earth could be targeted, before the Dominion could even realize the value of the blue planet, special units had been sent deep into enemy space. Sleeper cells, infiltrators, operatives who lived among the monsters, unseen, waiting for the day the war came. And now, as Dominion fleets scorched Earth, those humans struck, not from the ground, but from the very heart of the alien empire. One of the operatives placed a charge against the wall of a Dominion power nexus. Lights flickered. Alien citizens screamed as explosions rippled across the city. Another infiltrator hacked into the Dominion's communication grid, flooding it with false commands, redirecting fleets, sowing chaos. The humans weren't just fighting back. They were dismantling the Dominion from within. Back on Earth, the tide turns. General Kethvor could not explain the sudden collapse in his supply lines. Entire fleets were failing to report. Weapon stockpiles were vanishing. Orders from the Homeworld contradicted his own. And the humans, damned, stubborn humans, seemed to know exactly when to strike. As though they could see the gaps in the Dominion's armor before they even appeared. In New York, human fighters forced the retreat of an alien division twice their size. In Tokyo, captured alien war beasts turned on their masters, guided by human handlers. In the skies above Paris, Dominion cruisers fell, not to Earth's primitive jets, but to their own warships firing upon each other. Panic spread through the alien ranks. Soldiers whispered in hushed tones about sabotage, betrayal, ghosts in their systems. But the truth was far worse. The revelation. On the 30th day of the invasion, Kethvor received a transmission from the Council of Elders. Their image flickered, broken by static, but their fear was unmistakable. "The humans," the elder rasped. "They are here." Kethvor's mandibles clicked. "On Earth? Yes, they fight like devils, but not on Earth." The elder's voice shook. "On Zaltharon Prime." The transmission cut, replaced by screams. And in that moment, Kethvor realized the truth. The fleets he had sent to Earth had not walked into a hunt. They had walked into a trap. The trap already sprung. The cracks in the Empire. The Dominion was a machine of conquest. Efficient, ruthless, unyielding. For centuries it had devoured civilizations without hesitation. But now, its gears began to grind and splinter. Fleet captains received contradictory orders. Retreat, advance, bombard, ceasefire. Communication relays failed. Supply chains collapsed. And most disturbingly of all, Dominion soldiers whispered that their enemies already walked among them. General Kethvor watched in disbelief as his tactical display filled with red. Entire fleets blinking out not from enemy fire, but from sabotage, internal mutiny, systems overridden. It wasn't possible. Humanity had no warp fleets, no colonies beyond their fragile world. No reach. And yet, Somehow, humanity was fighting a war in two places at once. The Shadow War on Zaltharon Prime. Beneath the shattered spires of the capital, chaos reigned. Explosions gutted government nexuses. Transportation hubs were crippled. Drone patrols turned on their handlers. Panic spread among citizens who had never known fear inside their fortress world. The humans moved through the carnage like phantoms. One team infiltrated the Temple of the Elders, a place even Dominion citizens feared to tread. Its walls pulsed with living tissue, the heart of the Empire's psionic control nexus. Here, the will of the Dominion was broadcast to its fleets across the galaxy. The leader of the human team, call sign Spectre, placed his gloved hand on the fleshy console. "Command, this is Spectre," his voice whispered into comms. "We're inside. Beginning upload." A slim data spike, human-made but grafted with stolen Dominion biotech, drilled into the console. The alien system shuddered as human code spread like a virus, rewriting the network from within. For the first time in history, the Dominion's mighty fleets no longer answered only to the Elders. Now, they answered to humans. Earth's counterattack. On Earth, the invasion stalled. Dominion warships that once rained destruction now drifted in silence. Their weapon systems locked out, engines dead. In the ruins of London, ragged survivors looked skyward and saw alien cruisers crashing into the sea, not felled by missiles, but by their own power cores detonating. In the mountains of South America, resistance fighters intercepted Dominion dropships whose pilots screamed of phantoms in their minds before their vessels went dark and nose-dived into jungles. The tide was turning, but few understood why, until whispers began. Whispers of humans already on the alien homeworld. Whispers of operatives who had infiltrated the Dominion years before the first ship descended on Earth. For the first time since the sky burned, hope flickered. Kethvor's desperation. The great general, once certain of victory, now paced his flagship like a caged predator. "Find them," he snarled. "Find these humans on Prime and tear them apart." But his officers no longer met his gaze. Their mandibles trembled. Their eyes darted. Fear had crept into their bones. "General," one stammered, "if they are truly within the temple, then they already control." The officer never finished. Kethvor's claw pierced his chest. "Then we burn them out," Kethvor roared, "even if it means destroying our own world." But even as he gave the order, the Dominion's mighty fleet engines failed to respond. His own warship resisted him, systems overridden. For the first time in his life, Kethvor realized the Dominion was no longer the predator. They were the prey. The broadcast. On Zaltharon Prime, Spectre and his team completed the upload. Across the Dominion's network, human voices replaced alien commands. The message was simple. It echoed into every ship, every soldier's comms, every citizen's neural implant. "This is humanity. You thought you came to our home, unaware we had already come to yours. You sought to conquer us, but we were already inside your walls, already in your systems, already in your hearts. You did not invade Earth. You walked into our trap." The galaxy trembled as the words carried across countless stars. The fall of the Elders. In the temple, the Council of Elders screamed as Dominion control unraveled. Psionic tendrils flailed uselessly, once able to bend armies to their will, now severed by human interference. The great chorus of command fell silent, leaving only confusion and terror. The operatives advanced, rifles raised. One elder shrieked, "You are insects. You cannot." A single suppressed shot cut him down. The rest followed. For millennia, the Dominion had been guided by the whispers of their elders. But now those whispers ended in blood. And in their place a new voice rose. Humanity's. The counterstrike. With Dominion fleets under human control, the war flipped overnight. On Earth, commandeered alien cruisers turned on their own, bombarding once proud capital ships into ash. On Prime, human operatives fed data to resistance cells hidden for years among the enslaved races, sparking revolts in districts long shackled. Across the galaxy, Dominion outposts received falsified orders. Some were told to abandon posts, others to self-destruct, others still to fire on their allies. The Dominion was eating itself alive, and humanity held the knife. The duel. But one predator still stalked the battlefield, General Kethvor. Refusing to yield, he seized a dropship and descended to the temple ruins, hunting the operatives who had gutted his empire. He crashed through shattered bone arches, his armored bulk towering over the humans who dared to defile his world. "I will mount your skulls on the gates of Earth," he bellowed. Spectre stepped forward, rifle steady. "You won't live long enough to see Earth again." The battle was savage. Kethvor moved like a storm of claws and armored plates, shrugging off bullets, tearing through cover. 2 operatives fell beneath his strikes. But humans fought differently. They weren't bred for war, they adapted to it. Every second of survival taught them something new. Every mistake was adjusted, every weakness exploited. Explosives rigged into rubble, fire drawn to choke points, snipers waiting in shadows. Kethvor fought like a monster. The humans fought like the end of the world. And finally, as he raised his claw for a killing blow, Spectre detonated the charges set beneath the temple's heart. The explosion tore through alien architecture. Kethvor staggered, carapace cracked, limbs mangled. Spectre stood over him, rifle aimed. "You should have listened to your archives," he said coldly. "Never underestimate us." The shot ended the Dominion's greatest general. The aftermath. When the smoke cleared, the humans did not stand alone. Across Zaltharon Prime, enslaved species rose in revolt, inspired by the audacity of the humans who dared to strike at the Empire's heart. Across Earth, survivors reclaimed cities, supported by commandeered alien weapons turned against their masters. And across the galaxy, the Dominion, once a name that brought only terror, was spoken in past tense. Humanity had not just survived. They had rewritten the balance of power. The final message. Weeks later, as fleets of liberated worlds gathered, a single transmission was sent from Earth to the stars. It was not a cry for help. It was not a plea for mercy. It was a warning. To any who would come for us, we are humanity. We may bleed. We may fall. But we will always rise again. You will not find us where you expect. You will not break us as you broke others. For when you come to our home, remember this, we are already in yours. The message spread like fire, reaching worlds that had never heard of Earth before. And in every corner of the galaxy, one truth became undeniable. The age of dominion was over. The age of humanity had begun.